Welcome into another episode of Between the Hedges. Thank y'all for joining, for tuning in. Those of you watching now and whoever will watch in the future, we do appreciate it. How's it going tonight, boys?
It's going good. I'm coming
All
back
good, all
finally.
good down here in the Sunshine State.
Hmm.
I'm not a Gator
Yeah,
fan or a Knoll fan, so it's really good.
good to be back.
Yeah, welcome back.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. You weren't here Friday. I forgot.
Hmm. But I tuned in though, for sure. I heard your remarks about me, so I
What
can't wait
remarks
until
would that be?
you're. I'm no, it's the past. I'll get over it. So
Oh, it sounds like the past because you're bringing it up.
nah, it's good now. Everything's good. I just can't wait for you to miss
Everything's
one.
good. Okay.
Ladies, let's be nice. So, we have some business to attend to tonight. As always, Sundays are kind of our action-packed episode. So let's get right into it. Dad, if you want to take over, we can go over the results from our picks. But before we do that, as you're getting that pulled up, I just wanted to say I'm glad that we don't have to sit here and listen to Oklahoma fans say we got to win in our first SEC game. And how about Vandy? We got
Woohoo!
we got to lead the show with that. That was the
Woohoo!
shocker of the day.
They were
Yeah.
so close to pulling off the outright upset. I could not believe it. I honestly could not believe it. But I was just crossing my fingers and hoping, as you see, reviewing our picks from last Friday. I picked Vandy with the 21 and a half. And I know the two of y'all, if y'all were watching that game, y'all were sitting there cussing probably underneath your breath or even out
Yep.
loud. I don't know. But,
A
hey,
little bit of both.
Vandy played an awesome game. And,
They really did. And they really showed
I
out. I
think,
mean, even
I,
even at Missouri too. That's the
yeah,
crazier part.
yeah, I agree. And I mean, that's back to back games that Missouri has let
Struggle.
what you would think would be much inferior teams hang around and you know almost got beat this week.
Yep.
Well, I mean, both weeks they almost got beat. So that makes me think, how good is Missouri really? I mean, their record, I think, is going to be outstanding for by the time the season ends.
But how are they going to
But
be against the top 10?
yeah, I mean, their the record, they're going to be ranked and all that good stuff. But I don't uh, I don't know how good of a team they're going to be overall because they're not going to play a high level schedule, even though it's an SEC schedule, and they miss a lot of the top highly rated teams out of the SEC this season.
Yeah.
And some of the games they've played at home, they've not really won all that convincingly. They've won them, which a good team finds a way to win, and that's what they did. But you know, it just makes me think. Take a second look at Missouri.
Yeah, I mean, both of y'all bring up good points. I know I'll jump in here real quick just because I've been carrying the flag, if so to speak, for Missouri because I've been saying, watch out, watch out. It to me, it reeks of the classic, oh, we're good enough to just go through this schedule. We don't have to have our A game. We don't have to necessarily be as locked in, and it's easy for teams to do that against Vandy. We know that as Georgia fans of the past. It hasn't happened since Kirby's been around, but we've had a couple of, halftime close scores, but that's it.
Well, shoot,
Um,
even last year, Vandy jumped out to a lead on us.
right.
Even
So
last season.
Vandy's getting better for sure. I will say that they don't look like Vandy of old.
No,
Um,
and they got a little bit of swagger to them this season. I can't believe we're talking about freaking Vandy so much on UGA channel, but you know,
I will say Vandy's not the worst team in the SEC. Just putting that out there.
well, I mean, we may end up seeing that that's the case. They got 8 games just like the rest of us, and we'll see who ends up at the bottom. But um,
it won't
you
it won't
very
be
well
Vandy.
could be. I mean, going by what they've done so far, they don't look like the worst team in the SEC this year. Can
No,
you say Gators or Mississippi State?
yeah, I was about to say if you either of you watch that Mississippi State Florida game? I did because
I,
I
I
did.
did.
I was with
Yeah.
my brother-in-law. That was the first game we watched, and he's a Florida fan, as y'all know, and
So he's
um,
not a very smart guy, is what you're saying.
this is true. But beyond
Oh
that
man,
point,
you put that on the internet, dude.
he knows it. We give it to each other. Even he was like, "Man, the loser of this game is in a world of hurt." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right. The loser of this game may not win another game, and the winner of this game may not win another game this whole season." So, all right. Well,
So
let's
I
get
pulled
into
up
it.
here. I don't know. I hope you guys can see it. Here's the results from the week's games. As you can see, we had 6 games as usual. Um, I see Matthew's cheering on his 2-4 record this week.
Hey, lowest score wins, baby.
This isn't golf.
If that were the case, I'm beating y'all pretty
Yeah.
bad.
If that were the case, Mike has got us lapped, I think.
Hey, I don't call it a
But hey, we
comeback now. I had one
there.
win. I got one right in week one. I've gotten five right since, so don't call it a comeback.
Oh, it'll definitely be a comeback. It'll definitely, but there's a lot of mixture of color on that grid there. Not very many greens and a lot of purples there for wrong picks. But anyway, first game Auburn, Arkansas. Me and Micah decided to take points. For some reason, Matthew decided to take Auburn.
I don't know why I did. I
I think we said that Friday night, didn't we?
Yeah.
yeah. I
The
I just don't know why. I fluked on that one for sure. So that should have been
So
a win for me, but I messed up on that one.
Arkansas ends up taking the game 24-14. So they were getting points and they won outright. So big win for me and Micah on that one. You got anything to say about that one, Micah?
I mean, it was the classic Auburn can't do anything well right now. So,
Well, their coach can't even make up his mind which quarterback he wants to play, and that doesn't help the team either.
Yeah.
So until he makes a decision which way he wants to go on that, they're just going to be, rowing the boat without a paddle, so to speak. I
and
mean,
and that's
you're just
how
at the mercy of the current then.
that's how it looks at Florida too. So you don't want to be in the same conversation as Florida right now.
Then one of the games that we all agreed on, LSU playing UCLA, they almost covered this. They just
Sorry,
make too
LSU.
many, they just make too many dang mistakes, self-inflicted wounds, and their defense sucks.
Big time.
I mean, they suck on defense. So that led to UCLA covering. LSU wins the game 34-17, 17-point spread. Too bad they were favored by 24 and a half. So we all take the big L on that one for LSU. So
Hmm.
congratulations, Tigers. You beat a Pac 12 reject team. and you gave us an L for picking you and believing in you to cover at home.
Yeah.
Probably be the last time I picked them.
I won't say that, but it stinks that they didn't play better to win by what they should have won by.
All you fighting Brian Kelly's out there, you LSU fans, I need to talk to you real quick. Um, you failed. Somehow, freaking Indiana held this team to 3 points, and you let them score 17 and hang in this game at home.
Yeah, it was a close ball game until the very last quarter and a half.
I
And
was watching this game pretty religiously, and uh, it was
UCLA
very
was
close.
yeah, they were giving them everything they wanted there for the first half at least.
I thought LSU was going to lose for a minute, and then they just pull away, get some turnovers at the end of the game, but didn't cover the spread. I was like, and Brian Kelly is saying that he could play against Georgia very well since we barely beat Kentucky. Mhm.
That would be a good game. I wonder if we're going to see Kentucky match up against LSU this season. I don't know
I'm
their
pulling for
schedules,
Kentucky.
but anyway, then moving on to the third game, we all agreed on this one that Tennessee, favored by 6.5, is going to beat Oklahoma handily. Well, it wasn't too handily. Tennessee only wins 25-15. They cover, but uh, it wasn't as big a blowout as what I was anticipating. And I'll tell you, I gained a lot of respect for Oklahoma in this game, showing up for their first SEC game ever. And their defense
Solid.
is legit. Now, if you took Oklahoma's defense and you put it with LSU's offense, you might have a really, really good team. Really
Yeah.
good team. Because the other side of that coin, the Oklahoma offense, they're another one that they got to figure out what the heck they're going to do at quarterback. I mean, and offensive line, their offensive line, I guess their offensive line hung in there well considering how good we thought Tennessee's front seven was heading into that game, and but it wasn't a big blowout, but it was enough to cover, and we've got the W on this one anyway. But my thoughts are, I'm impressed with Oklahoma's defense. I think they're going to be a hard out for a lot of teams they play against, but I think it may be a little bit a longer season for them just because they're going to have trouble scoring points against SEC defenses.
Yep. I agree. I give all the credit to Oklahoma for showing out at Tennessee, or no, at home against Tennessee. Um, because Tennessee's got a very good young quarterback, mobile quarterback that reminds me a lot of Lamar Jackson when he was at Louisville. Um, but I watched this game, uh, most of it Saturday night. Yeah, because it was a night game. And Oklahoma proved themselves for sure. Definitely helps Georgia out. We can watch this film, see what we can do better that Oklahoma didn't do to flip the script.
Well, I give them, like y'all are saying, I give them their props defensively. They figured out outside of two just bombs by Tennessee. I mean, this is a different ball game. Um, so they were able to kind of control or hang in there on the line of scrimmage during, that second half. The first half, they kind of looked a little overmatched, but to their credit, they made some adjustments. It was 19-3 going into the fourth quarter, and it final score 25-15. So, um, they outscored them 12-6 down the stretch and got some stops. So, if I was a Tennessee fan, which thank God I'm not, I have more sense than that. But I would be
And too many teeth.
Yeah, way too many teeth. I'm too good looking. So, but I I would be a little worried if I was Tennessee because that's the first real team you've played and a decent defense. I don't think it's going to be the best defense they face. Um, and they were able to kind of figure out a way to slow you down, kind of like Georgia does every time everybody gets all hyped up about Tennessee coming to play Georgia, and then Georgia just lays the wood to them, and they just can't be as high flying as they want to be. So, you got the win, you covered on the road at night, so good job. But there's a little cause for concern there. So.
With cause for concern for Tennessee. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. You both picked up on that little point that I was going to make after y'all got through talking is that Tennessee, you know, they got a little more work to do on the offensive side than what you thought coming into that game.
Mhm.
Um, they're getting all the national pub, rightfully so. I mean, they destroyed three teams that they played before this. I mean, you couldn't have scripted it any better than what they did. It doesn't matter who it is, they still did it. You know, we didn't do it. I mean, we played some better teams, and almost everybody had three other games against big boys played against little boys. Nobody else was averaging 70 points a game besides them. So, but that just goes to show, what a stout defense with some good athletes, at the different levels of the defense, what they can do when they're stay focused and on task and they don't make mistakes against that offense. The key is they always pick on the person that they're incredible at picking on the person that makes the mistake that play. And it ends up being a 40, 50, 70-yard bomb for a touchdown, scoring two plays in 30 seconds, because somebody made a mistake and they found the right guy to get the ball to. But so, yeah, I agree. I think Oklahoma showed the rest of the SEC some of the, ways that you can slow that offense down, you know, moving forward, even with Nico at quarterback. Because any quarterback, if you pressure them and you get them on their rear end and on their back several times during the game, that they
I'll throw them off.
their productivity drops off a cliff if you're doing that. So that's always the key. And then we've already brought this game up a little bit so far. In at the beginning of the show, Missouri playing Vandy at home, they were by 21 and a half. Both of you guys thought Missouri was going to just cream Vandy because Vandy's Vandy. Me, I Commodored up, decided to stand with the Commodores and, take
You were just covering the spread. Stop saying all this nonsense.
take the 21 and a half points and put them in my pocket and walk away with the W.
Uh-huh.
Just see, here's the thing though. Even you said at the beginning, you're like you couldn't believe it. So the fact of the
Oh,
matter is you got lucky.
I
They
couldn't
were
believe that they had a chance to upset the number 7 ranked team on the road. That's what I couldn't believe. I
and
believed that they were going to
Overrated.
cover. They were going to cover.
and I've
I
got
believed that Missouri was going to win, but it just wasn't going to be by 21, 22 points.
yeah.
And it turned out that that was correct.
And here's the other thing. Missouri shot themselves in the foot a lot in this game. They missed 4 field goals.
Oh, that's not
4.
shooting yourself in the foot. That's just, missing, not, you know,
Well, it's
I
not
mean,
They
putting
they don't have their kicker that they relied on last year.
yeah, that kicker they had last year was a game changer for them. And he's, I don't know. I would imagine this kid's probably younger than, he's probably a younger class. Um, so yeah, yesterday was definitely a tough day, but then Vandy did him a favor and shanked the kick in the second overtime that would have sent it on further. Otherwise, they might still be playing, but um, you know, college kickers, what are you going to do? Most of them miss a lot of kicks. Yep.
And I would like to put this out there. Hope and John Mark and Summer can all attest to this because I said it right. We were all sitting there right before this kick happened. I said they mentioned the rain. I was like, uh-oh, slippery ball. He's gonna shank this.
And he did, but he shanked the mess out of it.
So
But
sorry, Vandy, I put the voodoo on that one, but
well, I, Vandy's going to be a tough out for the rest of the teams that they play too. I honestly think that. I mean, that little quarterback that they have, if he stays healthy, he's a difference maker on a football field out there for them, being able to throw and run the ball effectively. And their defense is pretty. It's better. They're like y'all said earlier in the show. Their team is better than what you think a normal Vandy team being. That's that sums it up, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then we go outside the SEC footprint for the last two games. We had Utah traveling to Oklahoma State, favored by a point and a half, and they pulled it out. They almost gave it away, but they pulled it out. Utah wins 22-19, 3-point game. The two of y'all picking Utah, get the win, and
W.
Oklahoma State, can't pull another rabbit out of the hat because they did that earlier against Arkansas. So I guess they're 1-1 now on these pull the rabbit out of the hat games,
A blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while, but not all the time.
and they didn't. They did not.
And it took a late touchdown and 2-point conversion to even make it anywhere close to the spread.
Exactly.
Okay,
Just saying.
just saying.
But
Utah
a
had
win's a
control.
win.
Utah had full control of that game, start to finish. And it was their physicality that did it. And I think
And I just
yours,
took the home team in the points. I figured the home team in the points was a good bet.
I told everybody on Friday to go back and watch it. Their physicality will be the difference.
So,
So,
and then to wrap it up, the finale of the picks for the week, the Michigan USC game. Once again, we all agreed USC was going to win and cover. Wrong. They just gave it away there at the end. They were in position to cover and just did boneheaded things at the very tail end of that game and said, "Here, Michigan, it's your game. You can have it." So Michigan wins, pulls it out at the last second, 27-24, wins at home. And we all take the loss because we were believing in USC. Now, I will say Michigan's defense actually decided to show up more this game than what they previously had, at least in my estimation. I tell you what, that second half, USC's defense was owning them until that last drive. I think they had like under 20 yards of offense the whole second half until that final drive where the guy scored that last touchdown on that last run. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. USC's defense is they can play ball on that side of the ball this year. And if they would have done it a little bit more, they probably would have come out of there with a win. But they made too many mistakes, and their Michigan's defense decided to show up and be a problem too, which didn't help on the offensive side of the ball for them either. So, any thoughts on that game?
no,
No,
you got none, Matthew?
no,
I,
Michigan, nothing.
I, I will say, Michigan played just to their strength. They won the game with like 30 passing yards. And it's classic. It was their script from last season. That's
It
all
was
they
like
have to
19.
do.
It was like a 1930s team out there playing.
Yeah. So they slowed the game down. They muddled it up. Yeah, and to their credit, they didn't lose two straight home games for the first time in forever. So good for them, but I still don't believe in them. I don't trust them.
Well,
Um,
two straight home games against big boy teams.
right.
Because last week they had a cream puff that they beat
Yeah.
barely.
And yeah, it wasn't so much of a cupcake either. So that was the whole reason why it was that and the Texas game that made me pick USC. And shame on me for that because I've said this before, we can run it, the tape from last year, but on this show, but I am so out on Lincoln Riley. Like, don't talk to me about him being a genius. Don't talk to me about him being a great coach. And he's going to lead them to the promised land. They're going to win a natty. I don't want to hear that from anybody. He's not. It's not happening. So,
Strong take there from Micah, man.
yeah.
Very strong.
So to sum it up, me and Micah went 3-3, broke even on this week. Matthew brings up the rear 2-4. And overall in the season, you got Micah bringing up the rear 6-12. So all you guys out there, you're better off taking whatever Micah picks and going the opposite way. That's what that tells me. You would be
No.
12-6 right now if you just picked opposite of Micah.
Yep.
Then you got Matthew at 8-10. He's struggling to get break even, struggling.
Trying.
And then I'm doing okay at 10-8, but leading the charge for the Friday night pick'em contest right now, and it's a tenuous lead, but we'll see how it goes the rest of the season. Guys, if you're watching, put some comments in the chat on these games. Give us your thoughts on them. Who impressed you this week? What games did you watch? Who was good? Who totally laid an egg? All that good stuff. Um,
Somebody tell David how wrong he is for saying all you got to do is pick opposite of me. There's been a couple of bad breaks that didn't go my way, and you could be looking at same record or better than Matthew. So just so y'all know, there's some really bad backdoor covers and backdoor losses that are stuck up in that. But we're winners, so we don't focus on the losses, we learn from them and we bounce back. And that's what we're doing. We're 5-1 or five. What are we? We are 5-6 since the start of week one. So,
you?
yep, we're on the up and up.
All right. After that little rant, KG chimed in. Vandy impressed me. I think that's Casey Girl, isn't it? Is that what the KG is? Casey Girl.
I think so.
Yeah. She's tuned in watching us. She was impressed by Vandy as well. So I guess that makes us, after talking about these games, we get to our rankings. Our ranking. Who wants to go first on this?
We'll let Matthew go since he wasn't on Friday.
Okay.
Okay.
Go for it.
Sure. I will say as far as my top 12 goes, it's pretty similar to what I had last Sunday, except mixing up some people. My top four stayed the same, or really top five. Um, I had I bumped up Ohio State one or two, and then put Missouri at 8 just because of that Vandy game. That they're slowly going down because they're not really. proving that they are that good of a team because they're struggling against Vandy. So I can't imagine them struggling against a better SEC school like Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee. So that's why I bumped them down to 8. But my bottom 4, I got Utah at 9, Oregon at 10, USC at 11, and Michigan at 12. And the reason why I have USC above Michigan is because Michigan, yes, they did beat USC,
Yeah, they
but
did.
USC is still a better team, regardless.
I,
And that will
I
probably
would.
be USC's one loss.
I mean, you could bear out to be right down the line, but it's just odd the week that not even the week, the day after Michigan beats USC, you still have USC ranked ahead of them.
Well,
I
the
mean,
reason why is because Michigan wasn't even in my top 12, and they're lucky to even be number 12. I had other teams that I wanted to pick.
oh, that's your rankings. You can put whoever you want to on there. That's the beauty.
Oh no,
And
I
that's
I
why you
gave
did
I
what you
gave it
did.
to them. I gave it to them because they beat USC.
Okay. I got
Because
you.
I had USC at like 8, so they dropped, but just
Gotcha.
right above Michigan.
See, I had USC ranked also, but they ain't there anymore right now in my 12 after losing.
Yeah, I don't agree with your bottom 4. I don't know what the heck you're doing.
Well, go ahead and share with us what the heck are you doing with those bottom 4?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, my top 12 pretty much stayed the same, except for uh, probably the bottom 5. Um, the way I see this is that you got 2 teams at the top that are the elite teams. Then you got about 4 teams that are in the mix. They're going to be in the mix for a while, and they can be contenders basically. And then after number 6, from there down, it's going to be just um, mix match type stuff. But what specifically are you questioning about? Because you've got Clemson at 11, I got Clemson at 11. You got Utah at 10, I got 10, Utah at 10, Micah, and I've got Oregon at 9. You got them at 8. What's the question? Is it LSU?
No, I mean I'd like to hear the justification on that, but I was
In my
just saying
opinion,
that was a
I
good
got
segue.
through. I got through the undefeated teams right now, and I had to pick a one-loss team. And to me, I think LSU probably is the best one-loss team right now.
You have Clemson up there too.
That's true. I have Clemson up there too. I think Clemson. I don't know that Clemson's going to lose again this year. At
I
least not
think I
until
think so.
the playoff. I mean, what, do they play Miami in the regular season?
No, I'm
They
looking at
don't.
the schedule right now.
So the only way they're going to play Miami is if both of them end up playing
Championship.
matching up in the ACC championship game. Now that could be a tough matchup for them, and they could end up losing that game. But even if they do that, they likely still make the playoff. Well, it all depends on how other teams do through the course of the season too. Of course, you never know how it's all going to shake out, but Clemson, I think, right now is playing at a whole nother level. I mean, to me, right now, Georgia pretty much. I don't know. I think Georgia has been shown to have the best win so far this season with what they did to Clemson.
Because Clemson's
Yeah.
bounced back to their credit, and they've looked like
Right.
a decent team
I
since
mean, they're
then.
they're kicking butt and taking names right now. I mean, it looks like a totally different team, totally different. Now, some of that could be because they're not playing against Georgia's defense,
They're
but
playing sorry schools.
once again, just like with Tennessee, it doesn't matter whoever is on the other side of the ball. You still got to execute and you still got to take care of your business. And guess what? Since they lost that game to Georgia, they have taken care of business. So, yeah, I put them at 11, put LSU at 12 because besides Clemson, I think LSU deserves it right now with who they've beaten. They've played a tough schedule so far. I mean, playing USC, playing, UCLA. They've had a they haven't had a lot of cream puffs so far in their schedule. They've been tested a little bit. You can't say that about Ole Miss, Missouri, and we got them ranked up ahead of them just because we think they're going to be there down the line, probably. But
Yeah.
so, what about your top 12, Micah? Then
Yeah, so my top six did not change. Um, you get to seven is where we saw some movement, and that's simply because I had Mizzou there last week. They struggled to beat Vandy, who I don't think will be at the cellar of the SEC, but they're not going to be towards the top tier when the season shakes out. So that's a you won, but you still dropped just because of how you looked and how you looked in previous weeks. And again, easy schedule so far.
I don't know if
Uh,
you guys have, real quick, I don't know if you guys have seen the actual AP and Coaches Bowl rankings, but I think, at least in the AP, Missouri's not even in the top 10 anymore for the AP. I think they're
Yeah,
like
they
15.
no, they're 11th. They dropped
11th.
four after winning.
Yeah.
yeah,
So, I mean, there's some, there's some, they got exposed a little bit last couple weeks. They didn't look as good as what people were thinking they were going to look. I mean, they were favored by 20 plus points both games, and we're lucky to walk away with two W's. So, um, but to your point, what you just said, you don't think they're going to be in the conversation at the end of the SEC season? I disagree with
Vandy.
that. Oh, I thought you were talking about Missouri when you were saying that.
No, you barely
Okay,
beat a team that's not going to be in the conversation
I,
at all.
I misunderstood who you were talking about with that statement.
They'll be so Vandy will be a
Mm.
player because if they can give teams fits like this, I'm not. This probably won't be the last time we look up and say, "Dang, Vandy's playing got a chance to win this game." But the flip side of what you were just saying about Missouri is good teams find a way to win. So,
And when you were
uh,
saying that about Missouri, I was going to say I think they will be in the conversation towards the end of the season. And it's because they are a good team that they're finding ways to win. And if they keep winning, their record's going to dictate that they're in the conversation at the end of the season. And it may be due to them missing some of the better teams in the SEC schedule slate, whatever. But, they'll still be there.
you play the
So,
teams on your schedule, you play them, whoever's in front of you, and as long as they keep winning, they'll be there.
yeah.
Um, and then I got to let's see, I swapped them in Ole Miss basically. I dropped USC totally out because, like I just talked about USC, you had your chance. You may have the chance to earn it back, but
They'll be back in there before too much longer, if you ask me.
yeah. And then I moved up Utah, one slot. I moved up Oregon a couple of slots because they keep rolling. They look good. They're looking much better than they did at the start of the season. And I'm with you. Clemson's got the best loss so far. You
As
play,
long as Georgia keeps winning, they will have the best loss. You're right.
right. I, I have. Georgia, and I am still the only one that has Georgia at number one on this show. I'm holding steady because, yeah, we struggled against Kentucky, but again, good teams find a way to win. So we got out of there with a win, and Georgia's about to go on a run. So don't come talking to me when Georgia is undefeated at the end of the season because we got the one oops game out of the way and we blow everybody else out and we beat Texas and we beat Alabama close, but we still we get the job done. So and then to round it out, I dropped out Oklahoma State. You've had two times of
About time.
yeah, I mean, they'll still be at the end because again, I think they're probably the second best Big 12 team. But they proved that they weren't the best because they lost to probably the best Big 12 team in Utah. And I went back and forth between LSU and Michigan. I put Michigan in there just because I trust ironically I trust them a little bit more. LSU's defense is just bad.
Yeah, but
And I don't
Michigan has to figure out what the heck they're going to do at quarterback too.
well,
I mean,
we said
they
that all of
can't
last
keep playing.
season and
But
it
yeah, but their running game last season was way better than it is this year, and their defense was lights out better
Bad.
than it is this year. So
They
they
had a
can get away
lot of
with more of that.
seniors.
Their quarterback last year was a good quarterback. I mean, they would die to have him back this year. I
If they
mean,
had him this year, that game would have been
they would
way
be
different.
up where Ohio State probably is right now in our rankings. If they had the same, if he was still eligible and came back this season, quarterback play in the college game
Is a
is
big deal.
is the difference maker.
are y'all both really sitting here trying to tell me JJ McCarthy was any good? We all three said that he looked
He's
like
better
utter
than either
crap
he's
in the
better
title
than
game.
any he's better than
He
anything they're playing right now.
he beat
Okay, so
Alabama.
he's still utter crap though. I mean,
He
He
they
beat
won a
he
national championship by taking the ball out of his hands.
but he's still better than what they have right now.
yeah,
Ask any
they beat
Michigan fan if they
Alabama.
want him back on their team this year and see what they say to you.
And they probably do because they got two potato can, at quarterback, but yeah, okay,
And
he's
you're still
better than a
ranking them
sack of potatoes.
12. You're making my point for me.
My point is that LSU is so shaky, and so is Brian Kelly. What's
It
Brian
is.
Kelly's record against good teams? What's Brian Kelly's track record when he at Notre Dame? The first time he played somebody good, he played in a national championship against Alabama. That was such a
Poop,
joke.
got pooped on,
He got literally pooped on, and every time he stepped out
lack
of,
of a better word.
the easy schedule that Notre Dame always has, other than, two games a year, he every time it was just he craps the bed. So I couldn't put LSU there. Michigan won't stay there. And I think
And Michigan won't be staying.
the team that's just outside looking in for me right now is it's probably either Penn State or it's USC because USC actually has the schedule to get back into the conversation, and they're still in it. So,
Well, we had somebody, not to change the subject or anything here, but we had somebody chime in on the chat here just saying Collar is watching with us and said thoughts on the BYU win this week. Tell you what, the punt return that guy had, I don't know if either of you have seen that highlight. They had a guy basically misjudged the ball. It goes bouncing back towards the end zone. He picks it up on the run and then takes it to the house. That's an early season favorite for play of the year right there. If you haven't seen that, go watch that. That's amazing the way he did that. And, BYU just flat out destroyed, what was it, Kansas State? Is that who they played?
yep.
Yeah, and Kansas State dropped 10 in the rankings. They're in the bottom 20 now.
So yeah, I mean BYU showed out. I mean they played an awesome game.
I'll watch out for them.
Yeah, I mean they've got one more against they've got they've got two tough games left. By my estimation, they're going to play Oklahoma State in a couple of weeks. So,
That
but
a home game or away game?
that's a home game. So take care of business there. And then you got to go at Utah. Um,
That's
I
gonna be
don't,
tough.
I don't know about much of the history between Utah and BYU, but Kyler, I would venture to say, I don't know if you're a BYU fan, but I think Utah probably owns that series. If
You'd
y'all,
be surprised. That's a heated rivalry right there. It really
so
is.
point is, you got to go to Utah. That's gonna be a tough one, but yeah, what they did yesterday was very, very impressive because I was considering, had Kansas State won, them being the second best Big 12 team. But I think BYU took care of that for us. So yeah, good job for the Cougs.
Yep.
Them
Keep keep
Cougs.
keep playing well. We'll talk about you more
Exactly.
because eventually you may make it into one of our rankings.
Hey, yeah, we're not just Southern homies down here. We will if you're playing good football, we'll recognize it. You'll be on our rankings. So does anybody have anything else to add to their rankings?
Michigan won't be in there long.
No, I agree. I said that. I mean,
It, it they just did. I put them in there just because they beat USC, but I mean, I still don't have any faith in them at all.
I think their offense is just going to be a struggle for them
Yeah,
going forward. So, um, yeah,
this
but
isn't. Oh, you got something to add about the rankings?
oh, go ahead.
Oh, this isn't necessarily about the top 12. But I did see that our buddy Dylan Rayola is no longer the talk of college football. They lost to Illinois, who I think that's Brett Bielema, the old Arkansas coach that's up there, and they just kept running it on them, and they just out physical Nebraska and showed them what big boy football is. So, not saying I'm a Rayola hater yet, but I mean, I think he did spurn the dogs, and I think he's kind of spoiled because he didn't want to sit and learn and watch for a season, because then this could have been his team, and you'd be on a much better team. But
that
yeah,
could happen.
I don't want him back though. He
You
chose.
never know.
You never know these days with the
With the
portal
money, we might
and
have the money
NIL.
for them.
I mean, put it this way, we have what is it, Jaden Rashada on the Georgia team. You know who he was originally committed to and was supposed to get a huge NIL deal from
Was it
the
Nebraska?
Gators? No, the
Oh,
Gators. He originally was committed to the Gators, and I think there's even a lawsuit going on about it right now between him and the University of Florida.
Well, and Napier, he's suing Napier individually too.
So there's something going on there. But he went to Arizona State, I think is where he ended up going rather than Florida when all that got sideways. He was there for a year and he started for them for most of their games that year and played really well. Well, now he transferred to Georgia. I mean, you never know with especially quarterbacks these days. If it's going to be very few and far between guys like Carson Beck that you see somebody sit and wait for 3 years. I don't know if you'll ever see it much ever again. He waited for 3 years before he got to start his chance to start last year.
hmm.
So now I'm not saying he made a bad choice, but most guys in that position aren't gonna wait their turn, and they're not gonna make that choice. They're gonna go for the money or for the playing time or for both, and find somebody out some team out there that will, basically guarantee that they're going to have, have playing time and get off the bench.
I will add on to that. I don't think we won't see it. But I think Kirby Smart is playing that way. And that's his coaching style. He's like, dude, if you want to end up being a top prospect in the NFL,
Uh,
learn from my coaches, my coaching staff, my all these facilities that you get. Like, just I hate to say this because this is a Philly thing, but trust the process. Um, because that's how Carson Beck happened. I mean, even though Brock Vandagriff didn't really do much at Georgia, that's what he's doing at Kentucky. He's got them in that sort of mentality of, having a fight. Um, so I think it's not dying, but I think Georgia is probably the one of the few schools or colleges that is gonna continue that from here on out until Kirby Smart's no longer coach.
Yeah, I mean it was the Alabama way too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not just at quarterback. It's you sit and you wait and you unless you've got to go out there and prove it, whether it's in the spring game as a freshman or whether it's on the field, you've got to go earn your spot. So if you're not better than the dude in front of you, doesn't matter who you are, if you look like Patrick Mahomes, if you've got all this money, like you're going to sit if you're not my best option. So, yeah, I like that just structure to the program. But
But
yeah,
it does better for the program too, because like, why would you want an 18 or 19-year-old to run your college program? Like that's not that smart unless they're like insanely good, like Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, um, Aaron Murray, Matt Stafford, like all those guys, but they had to mature a little bit before actually having that leadership mentality.
yep. And not to
I
say that
think
Rayola can't get there, but I mean, I think that's why Kirby was like, okay, go,
go
go
have
to
go.
Nebraska. I've got my returning first round draft pick at quarterback, and I've got three behind him that are just as good. So anyway, I know that was a little tangent there, but I had to bring that up because he was like, "Oh, ha ha, I'm gonna spurn Georgia," and I just hope
well,
that we see
it
him in the
wasn't just him.
playoff.
It wasn't just him spurning Georgia. He has family ties to Nebraska. His dad played for Nebraska. His uncle coaches right now for Nebraska. So, I mean, it wasn't just him spurning. And plus, Nebraska ponied up some money,
Yeah,
Yeah,
even though he's in a position where he doesn't necessarily need it because his dad was a professional football player and all that good stuff. But they came to the table and they wanted him as their quarterback, and they made it happen. More power to them.
and it's easier to do when you have zero quarterbacks. I mean, so
So,
we have
I
an
mean,
embarrassment of riches.
Nebraska is going to be a difficult out for the teams that they play too. I mean, they're not going to be a slouch like they have been the last decade.
they'll probably be in the Big Ten championship.
They could be. I mean,
That may be
they
we'll
could.
see. We'll
Mm,
see.
I could see it.
So, how about the slate of games we got coming up this weekend, guys? What do y'all think? I'm just looking down the schedule here. Kentucky goes to Ole Miss. That'll be an interesting game, I think. Um, you know,
Go Ole
it,
Miss.
you know, it'll be interesting to see if the same defense shows up against Ole Miss that played against Georgia, last weekend. You got Oklahoma State traveling, going to Kansas State. Uh, Speaking of our buddy BYU fan, they're going on the road. They got to play Baylor this week. Um, let's see here. Wisconsin's traveling out to USC. Louisville is going to be playing Notre Dame. Battle of two ranked teams there. Louisville going to Notre Dame playing. We got Arkansas traveling to Texas A&M. Let's see here. They got Oklahoma, fresh off their loss to Tennessee. They get to go on the road for the first time in the SEC this year, playing at Auburn.
Easy dub for them.
Well, it's the battle of teams with no quarterback. So
We hit
it may be because Oklahoma's defense, I think, is way better than Auburn's defense. So it may be a 3-0 win, but a win's a win, right?
right.
Yep.
Then we got good old Mississippi State. They're going to give the Longhorns a try out at
Mm.
Texas. Yeah.
Ouch.
So
Those cowbells better not
good luck.
take it. Those
Good luck
cowbells
with
won't
that.
take it.
Ohio State's playing at Michigan State. That might
Go
be a
Michigan
sneaky
State.
good. That might be a sneaky good game to keep an eye on.
Go
Right now,
Sparty.
Ohio State's favored by 24.5, though.
Give me Michigan State.
Stanford traveling cross country, going to play our Clemson Tigers.
I
That
would
might
watch that. I want to watch that game because I think
Clemson's favored. Clemson's favored by 22.
Clemson's gonna tear them apart.
I
we'll
think you're
see.
right,
We'll
especially at
we'll
home.
see. We'll see.
We got Illinois coming off their big win here recently, going to Penn State. So Penn State's going to get another test. Hopefully,
Go
Penn
Illini.
State's favored by 17.5 right now.
And State is.
Yeah, Penn State's favor.
Whew.
Got Arizona going to Utah, and Oregon's traveling going to UCLA. Oh yeah, there's another little game. It's Georgia going to Alabama. Battle of
Oh,
top
it's game
four
day,
teams.
baby.
Battle of top four teams.
Prime
So
time.
it'll be it'll be a fun weekend of games regardless, I think.
Yeah, I have Saturday off, so I'm gonna be sitting at home doing nothing but
What?
watching games.
Good for
Saturday
you.
off.
So until my Georgia boys play Alabama cousin lovers and we messed them up.
But just be thinking about this right now. Georgia's favored by 2.5 points
I'll take it.
in
It's
Tuscaloosa.
it's pretty
Give
much
me
held
that.
steady at that too. Early in the season it was maybe 3 because the lines came out early on this one, but it's pretty much held steady. So
I'll hold that field goal. A win's a win.
yeah, and we'll get more into that on Friday night because you know that's going to be on the lineup. And I will say this, I'm putting in a request right now on air for everybody. I want that Illinois Penn State game on the rundown.
I don't know about
I
that.
agree. I agree. I want that Illinois Penn State. And give me that Michigan State, Ohio State too.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, because I know which way I'm leaning for both of those already. So,
I'm right there with you.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up.
all right, guys. Well, as as we've said, thank y'all for tuning in. If you've watched at any point, whether it's now or in the future, thank you to those who commented. We appreciate it. Keep doing that. Do that more. We love that. We'll definitely respond to it live. We'll keep an eye
Yeah, I
on
want to
that.
see. I want to see some people get on there and put in their top 10 or 12 teams. Let's see if anybody agrees with us or disagrees with us on their 10. Let's put it in there. Let's discuss it some.
Yep. And share this with five of your friends. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications so that you know when we're on. We're being steady Friday nights, Sunday nights at 8. But if we have a special announcement, somebody gets hired, somebody gets fired, that's a big name, or we, have some big recruiting news, we'll get on here and we'll discuss it real quick. So, thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. It was a lot of fun. I love it when all three of us are on here. It just makes it even more fun. So, everybody have a great night and a great week. It is officially Georgia Alabama week. So, as always, go
Go
dogs.
dogs!
Rogues.